In the next 7 minutes, I'm going to share exactly how to land your first 3 web design clients. Best news is you don't need a portfolio. You don't even need your own website, and there's no cold calling required. Are you ready? Let's go. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. 10 years ago, I knew absolutely nothing about building a web design business, and I had to try to get clients starting from scratch. But now I regularly land $5,000 to $10,000 projects without having to do much. But in the early days, I tried every method to get clients, and here's what I've learned. Getting your first few clients is all about leaning on your network, the people who are closest to you in real life. Can you find clients through cold calls, cold DMs, cold emails, whatever? Yeah, but it's a lot harder and a lot more awkward. When I first got started, I sat down and wrote a list of 100 people that I knew either might need a website or maybe knew someone that needed a website. And I call this the First 100 framework. You want to sit down, create a Google Sheet that has 5 columns. The first one is going to be the name of the person that you're reaching out to. The second column is how you're going to connect with them. The third is the date that you reached out. The fourth was their response. And then the fifth and final one is what you need to do next with them. Now you could create this spreadsheet yourself, as well as everything that you're going to say to each 100 person that you're going to reach out to. Or if you stay till the end, I'll share with you how to grab my First 100 framework template absolutely free. But that's it. You just list names until you reach 100 and then start reaching out. But Chris, what if I don't know 100 people? It's kind of like the first car that I drove when I turned 16. It was an Isuzu Pup and it was horrible. Okay. My question was, who else in the world drives this god-awful vehicle? But then I started noticing them everywhere. Turns out a lot of people drive this god-awful vehicle. Why did I start noticing them? Because I was looking. Web design clients are the same way. The more you start thinking about it, the more names are going to come to mind. So now that you got your list, what do you say to these people when you reach out to them? It doesn't need to be complicated. You just need to cover 3 things. 1, how you're connected. 2, what you're doing. And the third and final one is the big ask. Now that might sound like I just said something else, but it's not. I said ask. A-S-K, okay? Here's an example from my friend Davy Jones, who used this exact method to build a $30,000 a month business. First, he starts with how they're connected. He's not just jumping straight into a sales pitch. He says, hey, it was great seeing you at the conference. How's things with your new baby? He's prioritizing relationship first. Next, he goes on to explain what he's doing, but instead of just saying, hey, I'm running Facebook ads, would you like some? He's sharing real results from past clients. Now, you probably won't have those real results to share with clients if you're just getting started, but you can talk about the transformation that you're focused on creating. For example, instead of saying, I build websites, you would say, I build websites that actually help businesses grow, instead of sitting there looking pretty, doing nothing. You see the difference? It's not about what you do, it's about how it helps. Finally, the ask. And this is where most people get it wrong. Instead of saying, let me know if you know someone, you ask, do you know anyone? Now that may seem small, but it's an important difference. Let me know if puts the responsibility on them to remember you sometime in the future. Do you know anyone prompts them to think of somebody right then and there. Once you start reaching out, you're gonna get one of 4 types of responses. Here's how you handle each of them. The first is they ghost you. No big deal, it happens to everyone. Here's what not to do. Don't take it personally and don't get frustrated. And please don't send some passive aggressive follow-up. These people don't owe you anything, and sometimes messages just get buried. What do you do if something like this happens? Follow up once and then just move on. You've got a lot of other names on your list that you can start reaching out to. The second response that you might get is that they don't know anybody right now. At this point, you just want to plant the seed for something in the future. Say something like, no problem at all. Let me know if anybody comes to mind, or even ask them to be on the lookout for you. People often remember these things later, so don't underestimate this response. Now, the third response is that they might actually know somebody, and this is gold. But here's the key. Don't just take their word for it. Ask for an introduction. The difference between just getting a name and getting a warm intro is huge. The fourth response that you might get is that they actually need a website themselves. Boom. This is what we've been waiting for. You want to keep the conversation flowing and set up a call to talk about their project. And just like that, you've got your first warm lead. But what do you do with that first phone call with a potential client? This is where you learn about their project, get an idea for their budget, and try to understand their timeline. But whatever you do, don't be the first person to mention price. You've probably asked yourself, what do I even charge if I'm first getting started? And that's actually the wrong question. You want to let the client tell you what you should be charging them. What I like to do is tell clients that whatever their budget is, we'll figure out a solution that works for them and for me. Then I ask, what kind of budget do you have for a project like this? Now, here's where most people will say, I have no idea what I should spend on a website, but you still don't want to tell them what your price is going to be. You want to give them a range of options to choose from. And with that range, you want to give them 3 tiers. The lowest tier would be the lowest cost with the least amount of work. The second tier would be that middle range. And then the third tier is the highest cost with the most amount of work that you'd be willing to do. So for example, you could say something like a $500 to $1,000 website will get you 5 pages and this many features. $1,000 to a $3,000 website will give you 10 pages with this many features. And then a $3,000 to $7,000 project would get you so on and so forth. Then you would ask, what range would you feel comfortable being in? So why does this work? Well, first, it moves the conversation from being focused on a single price to be focused on a budget. Third, it shows that you're willing to work with the client no matter where they're at. And then finally, it keeps you from undercharging. And that, my friends, is it. That's the exact process that I would use to get my first 3 clients if I was starting from zero. You build your first 100 list, you start reaching out, you get on client phone calls, and you let them tell you what their budget is. And boom, you've got your first clients. But now that you've got them, what do you do with them? Thankfully, I've got a video where I outline my exact web design project process. I'll link to that right now. I hope this video has been helpful for you. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss another episode. And don't forget about the first 100 framework template that you get absolutely for free. There's gonna be a link to that in the description. It's got a spreadsheet as well as some things that you can just copy and paste so that you can make it even easier to get your first few clients. And don't forget, if you don't quit, you win.